Hey ministry partners and friends, my name is Lindsay Jatz and I'm one of the Groups and Compassion and Justice pastors at Willow Creek Church in the Chicagoland area of the United States. And I wanted to share with you a little bit about the importance of a foundational discipleship experience as part of the group strategy at your church. So at Willow Creek, we use a 10-week small group experience called Rooted, which is based in 7 spiritual rhythms, and it's a walk through the Bible and biblical truth as people discover how to connect with God, the church, and their purpose, and learn to live out their faith in their real lives by using their gifts and their passions and sharing their story. And so we have not just seen lives be transformed in those 10 weeks, but as we have dug into Rooted and leaned into it as a foundational discipleship experience, an on-ramp for people to get into community at our church, we've actually watched our church transform truly into a church of groups where people are anchored in community, living out rhythms, and growing in their next steps with Jesus all across the ministries of our church. And so whether or not Rooted is the right discipleship experience for your church, I would encourage you to find the right discipleship experience for your church. And there's 4 reasons that I'm going to tell you that it has been profoundly transformational for our church. So first, it is foundational formation for everyone who is part of your church. So those new believers that are walking through the doors, those curious people that are just still discovering who Jesus is, this is going to ensure that as they discover and go on their faith journey, they're going to start with amazing tools that are going to allow them to grow, be anchored in their faith, and learn to trust Jesus in their daily lives. It's also a great transformational experience for those people that have been believers for a long time, because it's going to make sure that they are rooted and anchored in foundational rhythms that are going to help them to grow and keep them anchored in the Word and connecting with God. It's also a great leadership development tool. We actually, every leader that is part of any ministry of our church has to go through Rooted in order to lead. And it's not because we want to check a box. It's because we want to ensure that every person that leads, whether they're leading a small group, whether they're leading in our kids' ministries, they're leading a team in our coffee shop, they are anchored in Jesus and have a strong understanding of our faith and the rhythms that it takes to continue to grow and develop. So everybody is anchored in this same foundation as they step into leadership. And what better way to lead than out of the fullness of understanding your gifts and your passions and your calling and your story as you've discovered those through that foundational discipleship experience. It also gives our church shared language. So when we talk about prayer or serving or sacrificial generosity, what it looks like to worship, the importance of daily devotion, all of those things, our entire community has shared language for that. Our group leaders, the people that attend on Sunday mornings, the people that are leading in our kids and our student ministries, and people that are serving all across that call our church home, serving all across our ministries. They have the same shared language, so we can check in with each other, we can hold each other accountable, we can encourage each other with next steps, and we can talk about the ways we are encountering Jesus through these different rhythms. And the last thing it does is that it also creates an anchor point for invitational communities. So at Willow, our groups are based on a 10-week term, 3 10-week terms throughout the year to create easy on and off ramps for people to connect to community, to take next steps, to multiply their groups, to step into what's next for their season, and also stay anchored in the church in a way that they can commit to. So every week for 10 weeks, our groups meet. And the requirement for every single group is that they must practice at least one of the Rooted rhythms each time they meet. That could be prayer, that could be serving, that could be practicing generosity or the breaking of strongholds. It could be the same one every time, or it could be a different one. And that's why it's so important that our leaders have experienced Rooted first, so they know how to lead people through these different spiritual rhythms. And so while many small groups are Bible studies, traditional small group experiences, like you would have experienced if you've been in the church for a long time, the other part of these communities is highly invitational, because sometimes it's hard to invite a person to church for the first time or to my Bible study, which is amazing. Yes, invite your people to Bible study. But you might have a neighbor or a friend that isn't quite ready to step into a Bible study, but they'll come with you to a coffee shop group that just tries out the new local coffee shop, a place that in the summer checks out ice cream parlors or goes on hikes, or in the winter practices different rhythms around rest, because when is a better time to rest than in the winter? And so you might have different expressions of groups that are highly invitational. But what if pickleball wasn't just pickleball? What if hiking wasn't just hiking? What if going out and picking up trash in your community wasn't just cleaning up and practicing creation care, but it was a chance to intentionally share stories? It was a chance to pray for the people that walk through that door of the coffee shop, or to identify a neighbor that might need additional help with their lawn because they've had a recent injury. So as people learn and lean into these different rhythms, it allows our highly invitational, highly connective communities to remain anchored in foundational faith practices. And so rooted is the expression that has worked so well in our church, and it might be the right one for you or it might not, but I would encourage you, find the right foundational discipleship experience for your church. One that is anchored in Scripture, one that practices rhythms that we want our people to be learning and leaning into in their daily lives. Things like prayer, things like serving, generosity, confession, all of those things. Whatever it looks like for your church to practice foundational discipleship in rhythm, find that experience and launch it in your church. Have that be the first on-ramp to community in your church. And I would love to hear how your church is transformed through it. I want to bless you as you step into the end of 2025. I pray with anticipation. We are all celebrating what God is doing in our lives, in our churches, and as we all reflect and celebrate and just anticipate what it looks like to worship a God that is with us this Advent. So I pray blessing over you and encourage you, and I hope that your ministries and your churches and your groups can thrive as they lean into discipleship and spiritual rhythms as part of your expression. Have a great day.